So The Exorcist Believer is the direct sequel to 1973's The Exorcist, this film being directed by David Gordon Green. In the film, we follow a father portrayed by Leslie Odom Jr., who after he comes home to see his daughter is not there, he discovers that his daughter and her friend have been missing for exactly 3 days. And when they come back, not only do they have no recollection of what happened, but they soon discover as well as that something just might be wrong with them, and that thing is, well, it might involve demonic possession. Alrighty guys, so let's get into The Exorcist Believer.
Excellent!
The one thing that I found redeemable about this movie was Leslie Odom Jr.'s performance. He's the only person I felt like gave a good performance, and this character is the only character that I actually kind of cared about. Especially after you see the opening of the movie, you do understand why his character is at the place where he is at.
Well, that's just fucking great!
God. My favorite horror film of all time is The Exorcist. Hell, I'm wearing my t-shirt for this review. 1973's The Exorcist is not only my favorite horror film of all time, but that movie is in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. So as you all can imagine, when I heard that they were making originally a remake, to say that I was kind of livid is a bit of an understatement. But then I heard that they were doing a direct sequel, much like to, well, Halloween 2018, which was done by the same filmmaker, David Gordon Green. To say that I was very, very skeptical, again, is kind of an understatement. Halloween 2018 is a movie that I think is awesome. It is a badass legacy sequel. But then, David Gordon Green made Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, movies that I disliked and I hated. Because of Halloween Ends, I was scared shitless for The Exorcist Believer. Even though I was not looking forward to this movie at all, I still went this with an open mind thinking, you know what? I may not be looking forward to this film, but who knows? This film could be the biggest surprise of 2023. And to be fair, 2023 has had a lot of surprises. Well, guys, unfortunately, The Exorcist Believer isn't a surprise. It flabbergasts me to no end that the same creative team who made 2018's Halloween made this stink pile, this pile of garbage. How is this the same team? When it comes to reviewing The Exorcist Believer, it is going to be very difficult to not compare this movie to, well, The Exorcist because, well, it is a direct sequel, so there are going to be comparisons made. Besides Leslie Odom Jr., who I did actually kind of care about, every other character in this movie is a character that I did not care about. Like, I did not care about a single character in this movie. This is a movie that does do the smallest bit of development before it takes your eye into the girls being possessed before they get lost in the woods for 3 days. When it came down to them performing the exorcism on the 2 girls, I was just thinking, why should I care about these 2 girls right now? Nothing about the exorcism sequences not only scared me, but I was never in fear of the 2 girls that were being tormented by these demons that were in them. I'm not blaming on the actresses because the actresses in this movie are really doing the best they can, well, with the thing that they're given, the so-called script that they're given. One of them is really doing the best job they possibly can. The other girl just, again, no joke guys, I actually forgot her name. She's there, absolutely, but otherwise, the other family I could really give any cares. I know there's one particular person you want me to talk about. I'm saving them later because, believe me, that deserves a bit of time for me to talk about. But anyways, moving on. One of the biggest failures of The Exorcist Believer was the directing. David Gordon Green directing this movie was not the right choice whatsoever. One of the reasons why the first Exorcist was so scary because that film affects you on not only on a psychological level but almost on a primal level due to the vigor that William Friedkin put into his directing. David Gordon Green, however, injects his directing with a lot of jump scares. To compare one particular scene in The Exorcist to Believer, one of my favorite sequences in The Exorcist, and one of the scary sequences by the way, is a sequence where Father Karras is in a nightmare and he sees his mother walking up the subway before going right back down. Father Karras is running after her, and you hear the sound design and all the middle of that, images of the devil essentially are being quickly cut and interspliced into that footage. And to this day, that sequence still freaks me out. What does this movie do, however? In between certain things with its sound, it intersplices jump scares in there. I'm gonna say this once again. Jump scares are not scary. Can jump scares be done right? Abso-freaking-lutely. It's like David Gordon Green forgot as to why that film is not only so good and it's a classic, but why it is so scary. If The Exorcist Believer was like as a sequel, and if it was just a regular demonic possession horror film, this demonic possession horror film is about as generic as it gets. This movie has generic written all over it. And not only that, but cash grab galore. Absolutely. Is the film scary? Even the voices coming out of the little girls didn't even scare me. I believe that The Exorcist Believer is a little less than 2 hours. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But my god, this movie is boring and it is so dull. But there wasn't a single point in this movie where it caught my attention as I was just watching it. This movie felt like a chore as I was watching it. This movie just goes along at a snail's pace, even though the movie is less than 2 hours. I guarantee you're waiting for me to talk about one particular aspect. Here it is, guys. Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn's in the movie, and then she leaves. Ellen Burstyn is probably in this movie for a little over 10 minutes. Despite the trailer heavily focusing around Ellen Burstyn as Chris McNeil, helping the father, by the way, getting rid of these two demons, she is barely in this film. How they treated her, there was a single point in this movie where I literally did this. The ending of this movie, just no.
And here we go.
So overall, The Exorcist Believer as a demonic possession movie is about as generic as it gets. But the fact that this movie is a direct sequel to one of, if not the best horror film of all time, this feels like a big slap in the face. And the fact that there's 2 more of these movies coming out, by the way, yes, 2 more movies, I don't want them. All in all, I'm gonna give The Exorcist Believer a 0.5 out of 5 to stay away from this movie. And by the way, if you want actually a great modern demonic possession horror film, watch Talk to Me. Not only is it a great film, but by the way, it is actually scary. Don't watch this one, please. Just don't. So comment down below and let me know. Have you guys seen The Exorcist Believer? What did you think of it? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'm also on Twitch. So if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. I hope you enjoyed my review of The Exorcist Believer. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell for my latest review goes live. If you guys want to see my previous 2 reviews, please click it right there or right there. And of course, till my next review video goes live, I will see you all next time.